Hey everyone, we're going to talk through jump roping mechanics, especially if you're dealing with some pelvic floor dysfunction. So a couple of things that I like to look at when we're returning to jumping is just how we are stacking our ribs over our pelvis. A lot of times when we start going into jumping and we start to fatigue, what happens is as we're trying to skip rope, our chest will come up and kind of thrust up, and what happens is we lose all control through our core and we get a lot of back extension here. So the goal here is to make sure that we're keeping our rib cage stacked over our pelvis with just a slight lean forward so that we are all in one line. The other thing is we don't want the knees to drive too far down, so we are excessively jumping up here. We want to keep just a slight knee bend as we're bouncing. The other thing, if there's just one thing that you take away from this, is just what your head is doing. As you're jumping rope, you'll notice in my form, if I start to look up while I'm jumping rope, my chest starts to come forward a little bit more, which means that that rib cage doesn't stay stacked anymore. But if we're able to just chin tuck a little bit, we have a lot more control over what our core is doing and what our pelvic floor is doing. So we're just looking a little bit out in front of us as we're jumping rope. Another thing that you can also incorporate is how you're breathing. So if you are struggling with leaking while you're jumping rope, I would highly recommend that you take a nice big inhale, and then as you land on the ground, make sure you're taking short, choppy exhales so it looks a little bit more like this. Nice big inhale. So then now you're working a little bit more on contracting that pelvic floor as you're working that exhale too.